Right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 6 of Hashtag Just Talk. Today we are joined by Anis. Welcome back. How you doing, man?
Yeah, doing pretty well, mate. Pleasure to be back. Seems like it's been a while, hasn't it? So yeah, it feels good to be back chatting to you.
It's been 2 or 3, mate. It's been 2 or 3, and
forever.
We've got Matt Maloney opting to the Coke Zero, cutting sugar out of his life. How's things, Matt?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Great intro from Matt. He seems up for it tonight.
I am.
But Matt, we're going to dive straight into this week's football as always. You're an Arsenal fan, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems up for it tonight, doesn't he?
So, it's the buzz of an Arsenal fan right now, isn't
it? Well, this is a good. We're going to get straight on to the first point. Man United 0, Arsenal 1. Matt, what was your take on the game?
We bossed it. We bossed the whole first half, and United were just boring, mate. They were so boring. I feel like John Watson with me mic here. He's like, but no, yeah, they were proper boring, like passing it around the back, like whenever they got the ball, and like we were just unbelievable. It's like, and Partey was just he looked a player, mate. I knew he was good, but I never knew he was. I know it's early doors, but he's got so much more tech than I thought he originally had. Like, I knew he was a ball winner. I knew, and that's what we've always needed. But he's actually we've finally replaced Patrick Vieira after 15 years. And I know it's a big thing because you can't just go out and find another Patrick Vieira. But we've been screaming for this for about 15 years, like I said.
You see, but the thing is as well, with this, Arsenal fans were having the same conversations when you signed like Guendouzi and Torreira. What's the difference between Partey and these two though?
About 4 inches. No, about 4 foot. Sorry, in Torreira, mate. I mean, Torreira was not. He was good, but he didn't like England. He didn't like the weather. He wanted to go. Like he just didn't like. He just never looked settled. But he was a player, and he could play. And he could play football. And I don't know what happened with him in Arteta, man. He just couldn't get him to stay.
Fair enough. And this used to be Arsenal Man United always used to be the old classic, the Remove and Destroy was always spicing it up, as you said about Patrick Vieira. As this fixture kind of just lost the gloss of it, it's not as glittery and shiny as it used to be.
It's turned into a mid-table clash now, isn't it? Because the thing is, when I was growing up, right, you'd see Vieira and Keane in the dressing rooms and the tunnels, and even the old school stadiums. You're at Highbury, that tight tunnel that's there, and you see them lining up against each other. They've got no escape, so the tension was building up the moment they're leaving the dressing room, and maybe because it's not so much of a title race, it hasn't got the legacy of Fergie versus Wenger, Keane versus Vieira. There's no real rivalries or battles that have lasted a long time out there, and the two teams in transition as well. So. Yeah, maybe it hasn't got that much spice to it, but I still think like this game between United and Arsenal was probably meant more than most of the other games in recent years between the sides, because it shows who's the one that's on the up and who's the one who's very much on the way down. And whether it's a team that's kind of pushing out 15th or getting into 10th spot, it's a big, big win for Arsenal. And they looked so good doing it as well. And it showed how poor Man United looked too.
Yeah, I was quite shocked to the fact that how good Arsenal was on the day. I don't know. I'm just so used to Arsenal being that meme side, but then it's kind of weird with Ollie. He just at home they're just not turning up. But Matt, I keep saying on the pod, Arsenal are taking steps forward. They are doing well. Are you happy under Arteta?
More than happy, honestly, mate. I think he's won 2 cups already, and we're in transition. Do you know what I mean? We lost to City, we've lost to Liverpool, and we lost to Leicester, and they're 3 hard games to have in your first couple of games in the Prem. But we still showed signs. I mean, the City game, I don't know how we don't get a pen with Kyle Walker nearly kung fu kicking Gabriel in the head. It's just little things just didn't go our way in most of those games, but we come out with a loss, but we still took positives from it, every single one. And with under Arteta, he's so clear and he's still so respected as well. It's so early doors. I mean, I was listening to the radio the other day, and City fans want him back at City because Pep looks not lost, but like, do you know what I mean? It's like since Arteta's gone, he's kind of gone a bit like he don't know what he's doing, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think I was listening to another pod and they mentioned how they think Arteta was probably the defensive coach. You know, when he was at Everton and he was at Arsenal, he played as a DM, if I'm correct, mainly. But, you know, that probably makes a lot of sense. But, you know, I think they've got to give him a lot of credit because, you know, he didn't have to realistically have a lot of money to spend. I know you went out and got Partey, but, you know, he did have to go and sign players like William. And when you signed him, I thought it's a bit of a silly signing, but it does make a little bit of sense. But I think what's been your thoughts on him? I think he's done really well so far.
I thought it was a no-brainer, mate. I honestly thought it was a no-brainer snapping him up. We've got that little Brazilian thing going now in the squad and that, but Premier League experience, he was free, he's won trophies. The only thing you can say is if he plays, he might be halting other like people progressing and that, like Pepe and that, but I just think it was like set piece specialist. I just thought it was a no-brainer. Honestly, I did.
Fair enough. Anise, we're not going to touch on Man United's centre-back problems because we seem to talk about it everything. But, you know, Pogba, as a whole at United, if you was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and you're going into January, would you cash in? Would you sell him?
I think the problem's bigger than that, ain't it? And I think what Matt said there hits the nail on the head with why Arsenal have kind of are on the up, because the signings they've made have been made to make that team better. And even when Pogba came into United, they didn't really need a Pogba in their team. And any other signing that they've made right now, they haven't needed that. What's Cavani doing there? Have they needed a Cavani in that team? No. You know, every signing they seem to make just doesn't seem to make the team better. It's just been made because they need to make a signing.
It's like Sancho, isn't it?
Exactly. And so, you know, to put the blame on Pogba, I think it's way too easy. And if you think of a team like United sitting in 15th, and I don't get why there's a debate about, Ole, give him time. Ole's at the wheel. Is he going to do it? Is he not? He's Man United manager and they're 15th in a Premier League season. That's 7 or 8 games in. So I don't think there's enough questions about Ole as the manager. All right, fair enough. Some of the players aren't good enough. And usually Roy Keane hammers the players so much.
Funny is Roy Keane.
How many times has he hammered Ole? And I think, you know, someone like Keane's got that in him where he's got a mate who he doesn't hammer that hard in management, and he'll cane the players, but no one's caning Ole. And I think maybe it's time for them to kind of make the move on Poch, probably.
Ole's a strange one because he just seems to pull out the odd result that keeps him in a job for a little while. You know, like PSG's always been screaming at me. All right, I know they went there and done a job on PSG, but you know, PSG haven't exactly. I'm not going to touch on to the French league, but PSG wasn't exactly amazing that day. You know, I know they've got players like Mbappe and Neymar, but you don't think back and go, "Oh, what a defensive performance that was." You know, they just turned up and done their job. You know, losing to Palace at home and stuff like that. This is not Manchester United. You know, with Ole played under Sir Alex as well, so I thought that's where it might have been a little bit different. But
he doesn't look like a United manager. He doesn't look like a United manager. He don't look like. Imagine if it was coming up to half time, like the other day against Arsenal, and the video, like, and the camera went on Fergie. He'd be chewing his gum. He'd be sitting there like, oh, they're going to get it when they go in half time. And you look at Ole and you think he's just going to go in and go, well, you need to pass it better, or like he doesn't look like he has bite in him. He looks lost sometimes.
He looks like a really nice guy.
Yeah,
and that's part of the problem, ain't it? He looks too nice, and so, you know, United have struggled for a while since Fergie, and I put Moyes in that bracket as well. But you know, even when Van Gaal was there and Mourinho was there, you knew if that team wasn't performing, they were going into that dressing room and getting ripped to shreds. But with Ole, you just think he's waiting for something to happen, and if it doesn't, he knows the press are probably going to lay onto the players, and he'll come out and defend the players, and he looks like the nice guy again. But yeah, there's big problems there, I think.
Yeah, but you know, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for saying this. I think Sir Alex Ferguson's got to take a bit of chunk of the blame. You know, if you look at the squad he left, right, I know he won the Premier League with it, but there wasn't many hot prospects coming through. The squad was quite aging.
They've had more than enough time, mate.
Oh, now, yes, now, of course. But, you know, they didn't give David Moyes a fair chance, did they? Regardless of what we think, you can't give someone to replace Sir Alex Ferguson. What did he have, 8, 9 months? Do you know what I mean? And he didn't really get the signings he wanted and stuff, which is all coming out now. But at the time, we didn't know. But I said it on another pod, you know, if a Jose Mourinho going, who's no mug, you know, Ollie's trying to sort it out. Van Gaal wasn't able to sort it out. You know, as we said, I think the problem is higher up. But
Rob, do you think? Rob, someone asked me the question once. It kind of like turned my head. Maybe Matt can give us an answer, because someone asked me, "Do you think Fergie loves Man United more than he loves himself?" To the point that he knew that team was done. So him getting out of being a manager secures his legacy, because everyone that was going to follow after was always going to have it that bad, which just makes him that much more of a legend. I mean, it seems quite crazy, isn't it? But maybe he's a small part of it. It's just
Well,
he's done, because he was winning.
His last season, I think Van Persie pretty much won him the league.
Yeah.
Honestly, and that was heartbreaking. That was honestly up there with one of the most heartbreaking things to watch. To give him a guard of honour was just horrid. Horrid, man.
yeah, on my final point in the Arsenal game, I've quite enjoyed the game. It's the first time I've enjoyed a Man United v Arsenal fixture in a long time. I think Arsenal got a few. I'm quite excited by Saka. I think
I love him.
Well,
It's like he's been playing in the Prem for 10 years. Honestly.
Yeah, I think England having the Euros postponed was probably a good thing. I think we needed that extra year for players to kind of just develop that little bit more. Talking on we're going to move it on. Talking on clubs having a problem upstairs. Spurs 2, Brighton 1. Kane with another goal. Matt, what's your thoughts on Harry Kane?
Who England's darling. Look, do you know what it is? It's just, I'm trying so hard to not like look through Arsenal goggles as I talk about him, because when he's got an England shirt on, I love the geezer, and I've celebrated like that summer in the World Cup. I was celebrating every goal and everything, and I do love Kane. Like not love, I like Kane. I like Kane.
It's clipped now.
Just cut that bit where he says I like him out.
But it's not clever play what he done. It's cheating. Like he's endangering Lallana. When you see
massively.
the ball go up like that, Lallana's looking at it. He's only looking at the ball. Kane's looked 2 or 3 times at Lallana and just backed up into him. You don't want that from Kane. You want him going up challenging the header. That's how the game should be played. There should be the ball's up in the air. 2 people should be going for it. That's why Lallana's leapt so high, because he thought, I'm up against Kane here. And then Kane's just gone underneath him, and it's been given us a pen as well.
I see I think it was more of a foul of honour, but I see a stat that if that was in rugby, Bow would have probably been sent off. Not Bow, sorry, Kane would have probably been sent off, and it would have been a very lengthy ban, because it's known as quite a dangerous tackle, and even in rugby.
Dangerous, isn't it?
Because, you know, it's a good chance he can land on his neck. If you landed at, you know, these players are full of muscle. You're landing on your neck, you're going to have 15 stone landing on top of you. It's not going to be good for your neck. But, you know, I think it's how you look at it. A lot of Spurs fans on Twitter were saying he was intelligent, what he done. Look, okay, I know he got the penalty.
That's a rubbish excuse.
I know. But again, this is another argument for VAR. You know, how far deep do you want to go into it with VAR? But end of the story is Bale won on the game with a header, which was quite bizarre. But is Bale the man to make a difference for Jose Mourinho and push them on for the title?
He might not be the man yet, but they needed something to add to their squad, didn't they? You know, with the new stadium, I'm guessing there wasn't a lot of cash floating around to make some big signings. Obviously, with the lack of Champions League football as well, so there's a few problems in that sense. So they needed someone to getting a loan like Bale in. It made sense, you know, from Levy's point of view. It keeps the fans happy. It keeps the fans off his case about not making new signings.
No brainer. Yeah.
And for Bale, it's great, isn't it? Because he comes back home, really, and you know, you don't lose your playing ability all of a sudden. He's had it tough, and I love English players. I love British players going abroad. It's one of my favourite things to see in football, and English managers going abroad. But sometimes they just don't fit in. I find foreigners find it so much easier to come to England and bed in to the football, to the culture, compared to English players going abroad. That's why I don't think we see so many of them. And how many have gone from here over there and struggled? Like, you think of Owen when he did it, he struggled quite a bit when going over there. Bale struggled. Woodgate, didn't he get sent off at an own goal in his debut?
The worst debut ever.
But Bale was like, he had a bit of time. He started well, but then, you know, you've got to find a home in a place like Madrid, and to deal with the pressure, the language, the culture, everything. You've got to buy into it, and if you don't, your football will suffer. So I think it's great for him, and probably great for Spurs that he's back.
I think realistically, just touching on what you said about Real Madrid, I'm only saying this because we're on the topic of Bale. You think of the Galacticos. You think of the last signing that actually went to Real Madrid and smashed it the same way Ronaldo has. I think it takes a lot of character and a lot of, what's the word to say on the pod? A lot of the kahunis, I'll say, because it's probably the only way I'll get away with on YouTube, to be able to handle it and do the big moments. I think a big moment for me screaming at the overhead kick against Juventus, and then in the second leg where they nearly fell apart and he scored the penalty in the 90th minute. Now, I don't like taking penalties as it is, but taking that, I would have been on death's door, I think. But why didn't it work for Gareth Bale? But then, could we say it did? Because, he did score that ridiculous overhead kick for the winner in the Champions League final. That's like, he done that in his home city. For me, that's a bit of a dream for, if I did that in London, that'd be my career complete. Do you know what I mean? But, Anise, I'm just going to move it on to, what else do Spurs need, though? They need to strengthen the centre-back a little bit more because they are still leaking goals. They didn't play too well in this Brighton game, but I think it's the first time they've got a result at home, if I'm thinking correct. And it wasn't their best performance.
We mentioned it before, didn't we, in one of the earlier pods that was on about Mourinho changing the mentality of the team. And, if you watch the documentary, he talked a lot of breaking the transitions. Tottenham were too easy to counter against. They were too nice on the pitch. And when you played against them, you could run through their team and knowing that someone ain't going to take a nick at your ankles and just stop you getting past the halfway line. And that's what's happened with Arsenal now. If you see Arsenal, they're not afraid to do that. You've got players like El Neni, Partey in there. They will take a yellow card and they don't care. They will go in and stop the attack coming their way just to protect that back line. And maybe that's starting to happen at Spurs. I mean, they've had a decent start to the season, but yeah. So it's too early to say at the moment if they've completely changed the way they're set up and they've got the Mourinho way. But over the course of the season, maybe they've just become a little bit more steely, a little bit more resilient. But I think, there's a bit of gloss on it because I think there's some top sides that haven't started the season too well, which has helped Tottenham massively. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare when they come up against some of the bigger boys in the league, because they're going to have to be that steely and that resilient, because I don't think they're good enough to be the best in that top six at the moment.
Matt, I'm just looking at the Premier League table. I've got two questions for you. One, can Spurs win the league this season?
Don't ask me that.
And two,
You're asking an Arsenal fan.
Two, will they finish above Arsenal? Not looking through them Arsenal glasses.
I reckon they will finish above Arsenal, yeah. But I reckon we'll both get top four.
You do?
Who misses out then? Who's getting the rest of that top four?
Chelsea need another year, and that it'll be City, Liverpool.
Does that mean Lampard gets sacked?
I don't know, do you? You honestly don't know, do you?
Rob's been pushing this Lampard sacking for as long as
no.
Well, as everyone knows, I like to, in my sound bites for the tweets, I always like to get them quite interesting, which we won't touch on the last one with Luke. But
they need a bottom, eh? Leicester?
Yeah, they look like they're going down. They're struggling. To be fair, he never did say they'd go down, so he just said they might struggle. But talking of struggling, Anise, what's your thoughts on Villa and Everton? They seem to be going back to normal now, just completely falling apart. But do you feel Everton? I know, Matt, you've already said your top four. Anise, you've said your top four and other pods. But, do you think Everton can realistically push into that top six?
Top six, yeah. I reckon they can. I think the way the league started this season is quite open, and a team like Everton, teams like Leicester, your Wolves, these sorts of teams should be pushing on and trying to break into that top six bracket. I don't think you can read too much into the form that's dipped from the likes of Everton and Villa just yet, because they had such a good start to the season, and if they were going to carry that form into the season, they'd go and win the league at the end of the day. So I think it's really easy to see them drop points for 2-3 games and think, oh, you know what, we're back to normal. I think they've started really, really well. Everton in particular, Everton, as much as I hate to say it, they look really, really good playing. But I think one of the big issues they've got, Ancelotti's come out and said, I've always liked rotating my goalkeepers. Well, he didn't do it too much when he first joined Everton. So clearly there's an issue with his goalkeeper at Everton. And if they go out in January and buy an actual world-class goalkeeper, like they filled their team with some genuine world-class talent, they could make that break into the top 6 for sure. Definitely not Villa. Villa are just looking at survival. But, that spell for the start of the season for Villa could save them. Just getting that 12 points so far, it could be enough come the end of the season, because 35 points has been enough to save teams for the last 4 seasons. It's no longer the 40-point bracket. It's 35 for the last 4 seasons, Rob. So if Villa have got 12 points already on the board, they're already on the way to survival, I think.
Yeah, I just want to touch, they lost 3-0 to Leeds a week ago. They went 4-0 down to Southampton. I think the only positive they can take is that they did kind of pull it back. But, when Ward-Prowse is scoring 2 brilliant free kicks like that, Matt, I mentioned it. I didn't put it in the notes, but I'll put it in the message after. I haven't seen too much of Ward-Prowse, but, he just seems to be a bit much of a creative midfielder. Do you feel we could probably, if he carries on his form with Southampton, do you reckon he can nick a place at the Euros for England?
For the free kicks alone. For the free kicks alone. Yeah, he's got to go in there. He's a dead ball specialist. But it's weird. He plays like Mark Noble 2.0. If you like, he's a Mark Noble sort of player. But he's just got a bit more about him and he's younger. He's
basically Mark Noble if he could play football.
On steroids, yeah. I mean, you watched the game, didn't you? He was involved in every goal.
Yeah,
he was everywhere. He just for the free kicks alone, mate. He's got to be in there. He's got to be in there.
How old is he? Because I feel like he's been around forever, but he looks like he's just turned 20.
He has been around for quite a while. I'm sure someone will dig it up in the comments or text me saying, "Oh, he's this old. You should know." But whatever. But I think Ancelotti's probably got a little task on his thing at Everton. I'm surprised they got him. I think that's probably just the money that's brought that in. Obviously been able to pay Rodriguez's wages and stuff like that.
That's a mad signing, by the way. That is an absolute. I don't know how he just walked to Everton and they signed him. I don't know how other teams didn't come in from him. Arsenal, it would have been sweet at Arsenal. Spurs, do you know what I mean? It was just one that just went straight under the radar and he went straight to Everton. And I thought, how has it happened? I know he had a bit off seasons at Real Madrid. He went on loan at Bayern Munich and all that, but the quality's always been there. And
this is what made me think there must be an attitude problem with him or something, because why did no other big club snap him up? I just find it quite bizarre for him to go to Everton. But when I know it's still early days and he did kind of turn up, I was a bit like, well, we're still showing he's a decent player. But look, we've touched on Everton enough. I'm sure I'll touch on it because I've got a sweet spot for him in other pods. Anise, this is your specialist topic. Liverpool 2, West Ham 1. How much praise do we have to give to West Ham? I know they've lost 2-1, but they did cause you a lot of problems.
Yeah, big problems. It's weird because I don't look at their team and think, you know what, you've made all the right signings to make your team better. I don't see that happening. After the first 2 games of the season, there's the classic West Ham fans, let's get onto the board. The results ain't started the way we wanted to this season. And, after the first 2 games, their next 5 games, everyone looked at the fixtures and thinking, oh my God, they're going to get no points. It was Leicester, Wolves, Tottenham, City and us in Liverpool. And they've picked up, 8 points? 8 points from those 5 games. And those 5 teams are all from the top 7 of last year. So, I think they've done more than right, haven't they, in that set of fixtures after such a bad start to the season. So, credit to them. I just don't see it lasting, though. I just don't think they've got the legs in their team and the quality in their team to think that they'd be a top half team. I think they'll be a bottom half team. I think maybe even mid-season they'll kind of tail off when they realise there's no real signings being made. There's no real big improvements. You cannot just look at Antonio changing position and be like, oh yeah, he's our saviour. There's only so much Antonio up top is going to be able to do for an entire season. I like the guy, all credit to him, but he's not going to drive West Ham into the top half.
Matt, this is the point where you make Alfie smash his head against the keyboard once again for another week. Well, they haven't won anything since 1980. I'm sure they'll bring up some pre-season cup they won or something. But what's your thoughts on West Ham at the moment?
I think they had to address the right back situation, and they have. They've got this geezer in. Kufau was his name or something. He looks solid. He looks like a young Sabaleta. Like, I've only seen a few games of him, but he looks all right, mate. And Masuaku, the other side, he's playing well. He's really good. Like, I really rate Masuaku, but I just don't know if he's a left back. I think he's more of a left midfielder. So maybe left backs where they've got to kind of look at to kind of strengthen. But I don't know how Antonio's doing. That's touching football, but he's playing absolutely unbelievable at the minute.
Well,
like, even the back end of last season as well. It ain't just a little stint. I reckon he could get 15 goals this year. And I reckon he's going to do well for them.
Well, that Masuaku problem, maybe, if they follow Antonio, we'll go from left back to left wing to up top and have 2 units up there. But Anise, again, we'll push it back to Liverpool. Are Liverpool playing as champions again?
Yeah, because we are, mate. It's to put it bluntly, it's kind of how we were playing for the last 2 years. As a Liverpool fan, I've had to watch us play so bad and lose games, guaranteed. And we'd have to play so damn well. We'd have to score every attack because our defence or goalkeeper would let us down. And that changed. And what we saw with Alisson out and Virgil out was like that kind of apprehension that, oh my God, it's going to be back to where it was. And maybe it was a little bit before Alisson came back in. But it just feels safe being a Liverpool fan. Even going 1-0 down, I'm just looking at the game and thinking, you know what, it's all right. We're probably still going to win. And I genuinely had that feeling. We had it against Sheffield United, had it against West Ham. And maybe like at some point it will come up to haunt us, because you can't keep going down a goal against teams that are quite tough to kind of fight back against. But there's a champions mentality in there. We've got a team of winners now. We've never had that before, but now there's consistent trophies coming in, and as the players are winning more, they're actually becoming more and more resilient. They've got more fight about them. And actually, Matt mentioned it a little bit earlier about Arsenal. They might be in mid-table at the moment, but they've got 2 trophies under their belt under Arteta, and that makes a massive, massive difference to the team's mindset during the game. Even during a 90-minute match, it makes a complete difference to the way you approach a game.
I'm quite concerned that we're counting the Community Shield as a trophy, but whatever keeps you happy, Arsenal fans, good luck. Matt, was the Salah penalty, was it a pen or was it not a pen?
It's one of them, isn't it? I mean, there's contact. He's going down all day long. It's Salah.
Yeah, for me, it's one of them. He has to go down for the penalty to be given, because refs if he don't go down, the refs are just not going to give it, which they should. But he knows he's got to go down to get that penalty. But then he's gone down so easily. It is a pen, but it looks like he's dived. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Matt, what would you have done in that situation?
If I was
Salah.
I was Salah.
Would you have gone down?
I'm going over all day long. I'm going over all day long. But that's the way the game is now. You ain't going to be able to change that, mate. As soon as you get in that box, you feel a bit of contact, you're going to go down. Because then that's going to get reviewed. They're going to slow it right down. They're going to go, oh, he was touched there. Look, if you slow it right down, oh, he was touched. Like anything. Like, that's why even in the Spurs game, you saw Son and Kane take 2 little tumbles in the space of 2 minutes. Just as soon as they were in the area and they got touched. The Son one was embarrassing. And then Kane done it literally 15 seconds after. It's just as soon as they get in the box, people are just trying to take a tumble now, because if it goes to VAR, it will get slowed down. And any contact that happens when it's proper slowed down, it looks bad. It does look bad.
Sorry. I was going to ask Matt about the Bellerin one. Now, I think it was a penalty. I do think it was a penalty, but he took a step after he landed after the contact. So there was the contact from Pogba, then he managed to take a step, and then he goes down. And in slow mo, it looks bad, just like the Salah one. But is it a dive, or is it if it's a penalty, it's not a dive? But then if he's taking a step, he should probably stay on his feet.
I think that was different because it was 50-50. Whereas Salah was kind of already like he already had the ball kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And then he's gone down. But when it was with Bellerin and Pogba, it was literally 50-50. Whoever's going to get the touch, someone's going to lose out there, and it looked worse than the Salah one. But it's because it was 50-50. That's the only reason. That's the only difference that I could see between those two decisions.
Inez, in my opinion, I think you're quite a good coach, and I think you know your stuff. But if he was managing in the Premier League tomorrow, the way it is with VAR and stuff like that, would you encourage your players to go down if any minimal contact?
It's hard to say because obviously I would never be in that situation. I appreciate the kind words, Rob, but I'm never going to be that coach in the Premier League, am I? And
well, for this moment, for the next minute, you're there. You are there, mate.
No, I think I'm too guided. I've got principles. I love football. I love football as a sport, and I do love winning. Don't get me wrong, I do love winning, but I've been involved in the game at this level, this low level, for too long to think like that we need to cheat or we need to bend the rules to win football, because that says to me I don't believe in my players. And if that's the message I'm getting across to my players to say you need to do this to be able to win a game, that means I'm telling them I don't think you're good enough to win this game of football. And I think that's the complete wrong message to get from a coach to a player. So I don't think I could do it just because I know the mindset of a player in that situation. And do I want to win that badly that I, as a manager, don't think I can outsmart the other manager in that situation? I think I've got too much ego for that, Rob. I don't think I can tell my team to cheat. I'm not that desperate to win a game if I don't think my ability as a manager or the ability of my players can go and win that match.
Matt, do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, what about if the other manager is saying go over? So you've got a kind of like, you've got you're like, right, play the game properly. We do what we do, but then he's going, right, any little foul, any little, I want afters. I want you, like, because you do get coaches like that. You will get hit 'em hard first thing, like loads of things like that. You need to.
It's different though, isn't it? Because if you say hit 'em hard, that's part of the game. There's playing aggressive. I'm not saying they can't be aggressive, but I think cheating and looking to draw a foul in a way that you're trying maybe draw. I think you can draw fouls as well without it being cheating. There are ways that you can do that, but to go out and say actively dive, to go out and say that, I think then you're kind of just bringing the game into all kinds of a mess.
See, Anise, I think you need to look at it from a different perspective. If this was your job, and say like Ollie, his job's on the line. Well, not on the line at the moment, and he's also a striker. Because I've played centre forwards. If you're touching me in the box and I'm only a little striker, I'm going over like a sack of any potatoes.
To be fair, I've seen you go over like a sack of potatoes.
And with one pens off it.
Actually.
So, you've got to think of it. If your livelihood's on there, your reputation, it's difficult. It's a different way to look at it. I think, again, it all goes down to people's philosophies and morals. I think it just proves that I've got no morals. But anyway, it looks like, moving it back to Liverpool, it looks like Jota's become quite a key man. I think he scored, Liverpool won 5-0 tonight. Is that correct? Last time I checked.
Right. And he got a hat-trick as well.
He got a hat-trick again. How does this mean Firmino's going to go out to West Brom on loan? Or how key is he becoming for Liverpool at the moment?
I think he was key the moment he stepped in. Again, I said it on an earlier pod, and I think the signing was huge, and a few people turned their eyebrows lifted when they saw 45 million or 40 odd million for Jota, and he was a perfect fit, and he was always going to be a perfect fit. What I didn't expect was that he would come in and also play a number of positions. I thought, he's just going to be on that left-hand side. He's going to be second choice to Mane. He's going to give a push. He's going to make our second squad that bit stronger. But what he's now gone and done is actually forced the situation to say, well, Bobby Firmino's not in form, so there's going to be a reshuffle in positions, and the guy in form is Jota. You put Mane on that pitch, you put Salah on the pitch, you would never think Jota would be the kind of spearhead at that top end. And when a player's hot, you got to keep him going, and he's on fire at the moment. So he has to be starting against City. He has to be starting. It has to be Mane, Jota, and Salah starting that front three. I can't see Firmino getting in, and it kills me to say it because I love the player, but we've needed those three pushed and challenged by someone. And it's already happened. He's probably picked one of them to the starting spot in the biggest game we've got this season.
Inez, I just want to touch on this young centre-back that's come in. I watched the game. I thought he played quite well. I then watched Match the day after as well. and they done quite a good little analysis on him. What was your thoughts on the new youngster? His name slips my mind, but I'm sure you'll fill us in.
Which one do you mean? Because we've had Reece Williams playing in the Champions League games. We've got Nat Phillips.
Oh yeah, mate.
Yeah,
I think it was it Phillips who started the
West Ham game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not actually that young, Rob. He's 23. He's
23. Okay.
He's 23. So we've had him for a while, and he went out on loan to Stuttgart last year. And he played most of pre-season, so Klopp's always liked him, but he's just, he had Virgil van Dijk, Matip, Gomez. He had big players ahead of him, even Lovren at the time. And he's actually too old to be put into our Champions League squad as one of the underage English players. So he's not in the Champions League squad, hence why Reece Williams plays in the Champions League matches. So for the Premier League, it's Nat Phillips because he's named in the squad. And he's known for his heading ability. He's known for being just an absolute monster in the air and not so pretty to play with his feet and actually the rest of his game. But against West Ham, that's what we needed. We needed a monster, didn't we, at the back? And he had a great game. I think there was talks of him even leaving in the summer, being looked at by Swansea. It didn't work out. And now here he is starting a Premier League game for Liverpool for the first time at the age of 23. So, yeah, what a moment for him and what a game to have to get man of the match like that. You need players to step up and take the opportunity. But when you're a player that's like kind of a B grade player and you're stepping to a team of champions, you either step up or you kind of just fear and fade away. So what a moment for him.
Yeah, it's good luck to him, and hopefully Liverpool just fall out the top four altogether. But I'm just checking over my notes, and I'm on the Sky Sports website, just double checking this is correct. It's got here Burnley 3, Chelsea 0. I nearly had a mini heart attack because I was just about to talk about how well Chelsea seem to have turned their defence around. And I've just read this that Burnley won 3-0. Obviously, Chelsea have won the game. Anise, do you think like now Chelsea generally have someone who is actually a goalkeeper playing in goal? Do you think that would be a huge difference in their top four push, title push? What would you call it?
I wouldn't go as far as calling it a title push. I think they're in a top four battle. They'll have to be in a fight to secure the top four slot. Who was it from the weekend? Someone from one of the Chelsea players said something about it's great having someone that communicates like Mendy behind you. How would you feel if you're Kepa hearing that from a Chelsea player, to have your new goalkeeper come in, the players are already talking about like that in the press? Because it says a lot about him as well as it says about the new fella.
Yeah, I can imagine. We won't touch too much on Chelsea because we should have another pod out in a week. We'll dive into that a bit more. Matt, I always ask the same guest this every time someone comes on. Who's your Premier League winners this season? It's got to be between City and Liverpool, isn't it? Surely.
Liverpool, isn't it? I don't want to say it because your man's here, Denise, but it's Liverpool, man. It is. Let's be honest.
Why do people hate so much? That's what I don't get. I grew up remembering that Liverpool was everyone's second team, and all of a sudden we started winning some, and everyone just hated on us. Yeah.
That's the first I've heard of that
one. No one minded Liverpool. Suddenly we start winning stuff, and everyone's like, "Oh yes, screw Liverpool, this and that."
I think it just comes off that fact of that famous win you had in Istanbul. I'm just surprised you don't talk about it any much more, to be fair.
Yeah, mate. Got other things to talk about now, haven't we?
I think this is the whole problem. I think it's to the fact that you become very much like what United are now. You know, when they just was always banging on about history and it was always your year and this, that and the other. It just become annoying. I just didn't want to listen to it anymore. And I think when I found a soft spot for Everton, I was just like, nah, I don't want to hear it no more.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, any Liverpool fan that starts talking about us like we're United is a little bit crazy, because what United did in the 90s and 2000s was pretty mad when you think about it. They're going to look back in like 30, 40 times at those dynasties. Like we Liverpool fans talk about our history of like the 70s and 80s. They'll talk about United in the 90s and the 2000s. They'll look at the Arsenals in that period of time. And that was those two teams in that spell. We've just had 2 or 3 seasons so far, and we're loving it and we're enjoying it. And we're going to keep enjoying it, but we've got to do that 10-year stint like United and Arsenal to even be talked about like that.
Well, as I said, I should have another episode out this week. We'll dive more into the football, so it is a shorter episode today. Matt, I'd like to congratulate you on becoming a dad to Miles.
Cheers, man.
It's your firstborn.
Oh, congrats, Matt. I didn't even know. Congrats.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Yeah.
Matt, I've had comment. This is a mental health podcast. This is something I do want to cover because it's no with yourself, when I became a dad, I struggled. I spoke about this before with you. I spoke about it with you today. How's it? I know it's a great thing to become a dad, but what's that side that people don't talk about enough? I feel taking on that huge responsibility. How does it make you? I know it's an amazing feeling, but have you seen? Tell us more about the downside to it. Have you had any, not problems, but I was affected in a bad way. I don't know. I think it was strange. It's even hard to explain now. I think he used to be a colleague, Matt. I think there was one day I was walking around London Bridge, and I was just lost. In my mind, I was gone. I don't know what I was going to do. And I heard this voice, and it was you going, Rob. He was like, "What the F are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, you're right, Matt." And as soon as I see you, I snapped out of that. It's just hard to explain for me trying to put this into words now. Can you kind of relate to that feeling now?
It's the unknown, isn't it? That's what it is. That's the main worry. But if you just take it every day, like as it comes, like it's rewarding, man. When you see them smile and that, it's just unbelievable, and you just forget all like the bad times. I've had it quite easy. I'm not gonna lie. He's such a good baby. Like sleep wise, like I probably sleep more than him. Like honestly, he like it was a bit hard at first because obviously with all this COVID stuff. I mean, I was outside the hospital and I couldn't even get in the hospital because I had to find out the password first when she went into labour. And I couldn't, then I had to get hold of the password and that, and then finally got in, and then I was there for the night, and then when he was born, I was actually shoving the Arsenal Spurs game in his face. He was actually playing, and then he was born. He was 4 seconds old, and I had the phone here, and I was going, "Oh, have a look, mate." It was 1-1 at the time, and then I think Ardeville scored the winner, and I was like,
"Put that away."
I was a little jinx, bloody hell. But then I had to leave, and then he was a bit jaundiced, so I didn't see him for a week. So it was mad. I was a dad, and then I went for a whole another week. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't be there. I missed his first feeds and all that and everything like that, which was a bit disheartening. But try and make it up for when since he's been out. So
how did you feel throughout that week?
Lost.
Yeah, I can kind of relate.
Just you're just staring out into space because you can't be there. You don't know what to, it was similar with you, innit, with Mason.
It was hard, yeah, because Mason for anyone who doesn't know, my son was born 2 months early. So, we didn't get that moment of, oh, look, we're a family now. It was, here's the baby, he's all right, incubator. My first thought of my son was he was in a plastic bag and they were breathing for him. It's hard for me to say this now, and I genuinely think, I remember saying to my mum, I think I'm sorry for swearing, it's the first time I've ever swore because I'm getting a bit teary.
Nah, go for it, Rob.
I remember saying to my mum, I think I had I know it sounds mad being a man, I think I had postnatal depression. I don't think that's the word for it for a man, but I started Googling and it was true. Men have had it before. I'm not saying I did have it, but I suffered for so long with it. It was so bad. I think it's because we didn't have that moment. And as you say about that first week, Matt, he was upstairs in an incubator and I had to stay with Emma, who was struggling because they messed up the operation. And I was dealing with Emma crying through the night. Didn't sleep for about a week. That massively destroys you as well mentally. This probably put you off being a dad forever, to be fair.
We're in the process of planning, right? We're in those stages.
Yeah, I think even now it's just hard to say. I remember just getting a haircut. I remember that I went for a haircut, and I remember just saying to the hairdresser, I've never said this to anyone. I said, "Oh, can you just stop for a minute?" And I just cried for a whole minute on my own because I was in there, just me and him. The hairdresser probably thought, "What's going on here?" But I don't know.
I think you're out of a job
because I hadn't been working. I hadn't been seeing my friends. I don't know. I think I finally see someone who wasn't within that bubble, and I just let out. But
he was lost.
Again, look, this is why we're doing this podcast, so we can hopefully reach out and help people because this is what it's all about. But we're going to end it there because I don't think we can bring that up for a hire. But I will be hopefully covering that in a year, about maybe next year, because I think they have the awareness week for babies that are born quite young. But yeah, we'll save it for another pod because I'm a bit waffling now because I'm just trying to sort my head out a little bit. But yeah, Anise, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it
pleasure,
again.
mate. Pleasure. Good to meet you, Matt, too. Yeah.
And you, Anise.
But yeah, Matt, thanks for joining and good luck to you and Miles.
Thanks a lot, mate. And
But
you,
yeah,
mate.
boys, thank you very much. Peace.
Sweet, mate.
Nice one.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, boys, thanks for that. Nice one.
Lovely.